Sorry, boy. But his captain's got to teach his men what happens to those what crossing.
Captain's got to teach stuff.
Morning from the Batcave. It is April 4th, 2022, and I got a thanks, Anthony, for that email. I just responded to you, and we're just going to work through that email in a video because I feel like that is a question that is pertinent for everybody, understanding the beast and the image of the beast and how he's one of the eighth, or he's the eighth who's one of the seven, how he rises. Does he literally rise from the dead? And the preponderance of the biblical evidence says, yes, he is considered resurrected from the dead. But he's not alive like Christ was alive, and he's going to have two bodies. His soul is going to be dually inhabiting two bodies that are connected together, and that is the only way you can fulfill these seemingly contradictory things about the beast and the image of the beast. So I'm going to walk you guys through it, and I would encourage somebody to take this teaching, copy it, and then put it to imagery and videos and stuff like that, because there's a lot of good stuff out there. Quite frankly, I just don't have the time for it right now. I'm working on multiple businesses. I'm actually praying through whether or not I should go to seminary, because I do want to get this stuff out more broadly. But I think you could take this with, videos and stuff like this that you can get online, and you can take this entire teaching and put it to video and make it a very clear, very prominent video and spread it around that way. So you guys are you guys are welcome to take this teaching and overlay it and reproduce it and things like that. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, there's certain things that have to be fulfilled about the beast. And we need to understand, like, the earliest reference to this guy being an eighth who's one of the seven is actually not going to be in Daniel, but it's going to be in Micah. And we're going to go to Micah 5. And most people don't realize this because almost everybody misinterprets Micah. They misinterpret Christ as being the Antichrist. And the reason is because the Antichrist is trying to fulfill things that Christ does. He's going to step in Christ's place before Christ gets here and try to fulfill Christ's second coming before Christ gets here. Okay? That is the great delusion. That's the deception. That's the lie. That's everything that he's doing. So that when he sits in the temple and claims he's God, it's going to look like the fulfillment of Christ doing that very thing in Ezekiel 43. He goes into the temple, sits in the Holy of Holies on his throne, which is the mercy seat, which is the Ark of the Covenant, and then the gate is shut. Okay, so let's look at what he says in Micah 5. He talks about again, the context of this. You want to go back a few chapters and start reading the context. The context of this is prophesying basically Israel and Judah's captivity to Babylon. And Micah was contemporary with Isaiah, and so he's giving them this, and then he gives the prophecy about Jesus Christ being born in Bethlehem. But thou, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee will come forth to me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting. So that's obviously about Christ. And then this is about Christ leaving. Okay, therefore he will give them up until the time which she has travailed has brought forth, which is Revelation 12. This is a symbol of the rapture. And then the remnant of his brethren shall return to the children of Israel. That's about those remaining Jews who are going to repent and flee into the wilderness. And he shall stand and feed in the strength of the Lord and the majesty of the name of the Lord his God. In other words, that's where Jesus is going to be. For then they shall abide. What does that mean? It means that Israel's going to remain in captivity. And for now he shall be great until the end of the earth. That means the gospel is going to be spread to the ends of the earth. So in other words, the Jews are going to remain in captivity until the gospel is spread to the ends of the earth. It's pretty straightforward if you know your old covenant, new covenant, okay? And then it says, and this shall be the peace when the Assyrians shall come into our land, okay? Now you see this man is put in here in the King James. There's no reason to think that he's talking about this man. In other words, the one who's born in Bethlehem being that. No, they're describing the peace itself. This shall be the peace. Put a semicolon right there. When the Assyrian shall come into our land, and when he shall tread in our palaces. See how weird the sentence would be if you didn't do it right? When the Assyrian shall come into our land, and he shall tread in our palaces, then we shall raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. There's your Antichrist. He's one of the 8, who's one of these 7. So what you're going to have out of these 10 kings that arise in the last days, whose sole purpose is to give power to the Antichrist, 3 of them are going to be anti-Israel, and 7 are going to be pro. It's that simple, okay? And one of those 7 who are pro-Israel, and this is all going to work itself out in World War III, becomes the beast and the image of the beast, and that's how he becomes the 8th, okay? And it says, and they shall lay waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod with the entrances thereof, okay? They'll lay it waste, okay? How are they going to lay it waste? This is the Gog-Magog invasion. This is Damascus getting nuked, okay? So this is literally Syria and Iraq getting laid waste, okay? This war is going to take place in the Middle East, okay? Now, people look at the Gog-Magog invasion and they think there's nobody to help Israel, and that's not true, okay? There's nothing that indicates that nobody else is involved with this war. In fact, we have Sheba and Dedan in the merchants of Tarshish and the young lions thereof all basically being opposed to the Gog-Magog invasion, but there's nothing in the text that says they don't physically help, okay? This is World War III. They're all involved, but they have all got their own fronts, okay? So Sheba, Dedan is going to be the Arabian countries. Tarshish is going to be England. The young lions thereof is going to be the former British Empire, so Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the US. That's who's going to be on the side of Israel, okay? And so you have this going on. And if you know there's a prophecy in Jeremiah that is almost identical to Ezekiel 8, talking about those who have unwalled villages and they dwell in peace without bars or gates, and it's referring to Arabia. Okay. Now remember, what is the prize of the Middle East? Is it Israel? No, Israel's a piece of it, and Israel's a necessary enemy to defeat, to take over the Middle East. But what's the real prize of the Middle East? And that's easy. That's Saudi Arabian oil. That's Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all that, Jordan, all that oil wealth in Iraq, Syria, Dubai, all those countries are full of oil. That is the prize, okay? That is the spoil they're coming to take, and Israel's in the way, okay? Because as long as you have Israel there, these people have alternative routes for their oil lanes, okay? And that's what they're going for, is taking away the oil lanes. I mean, this is all transpiring right now. It's in the news. What's going on with oil and natural gas between Russia and Turkey? Those are the main two occupants, but Syria and Israel are also involved because these are alternative places you could route Middle Eastern oil. That you could route Middle Eastern oil if the Straits of Hormuz or the Red Sea gets blocked, which definitely they can. The Suez Canal can get blocked with one ship. Straits of Hormuz can be blocked by Iran pretty easily, and then you have no oil getting to Europe. Okay, so that's how they're trying to rebuild the Roman Empire. And Russia's in the way of it, because if you know your history, Russia is actually supposed to be the true heir of the Roman Empire. And there's been this fight between Russia and Germany and France and all these European countries over who is going to revive the Roman Empire. Turkey's part of that too. All these 7 kings, listen, you have to understand, all these people want to be the head of a revived Roman Empire. That is the prize of humanity, because Roman Empire was the golden age of humanity, okay? They're unparalleled in their power worldwide, okay? So then it says, oh, okay, so when the Assyrian comes into their land and treads within their borders, okay, and this is the Assyrian, think of remember, what he's prophesying here has a dual fulfillment. First, it's fulfilled in Hezekiah's Assyrian invasion, and then it's going to be fulfilled again, only instead of the Assyrian, it's going to be the Gog-Magog group, okay? But it just so happens that their key ally is Syria, which occupies the Assyrian Empire. Okay, the Assyrian Empire was headquartered at Nineveh, which is in eastern Syria. And how has this whole invasion been predicated? It's been predicated on Russia and Iran trying to, quote unquote, defend the Assad regime against the rest of the world. Okay, this is what's going on right now. This Syria conflict that has been going on since 2011, 11 years now, is going to keep expanding outward until it's World War III and the Gog-Magog invasion. And Damascus, which is the nexus point of it, gets nuked over it, okay? Because Damascus controls the former Assyrian Empire, okay? So then he comes into our land, treads within our borders. The new Assyrian is Gog-Magog, okay? And then the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of people as dew from the Lord and showers upon the grass that tarrieth not for man nor waiteth for the sons of men. What does that mean? It means Israel will act as a sovereign nation again. They're not going to listen for the Gentiles to tell them what to do anymore. They're going to basically take over. You read Isaiah 17. They're going to, or I think it's Isaiah 18. They take over Damascus. They take over the lands of Syria and Iraq. Okay, and the Turks are going to help them. Okay, remember, they're going to lay it waste. Okay. And that's how Israel comes to a prominent position post-World War III, and within that context, the Antichrist arises. So notice there's nothing about Christ here, okay? Notice he doesn't say this man is going to lay waste them with the sword. He says, this shall be the peace, when the Assyrians shall come in our land, when he shall tread in our our palaces, then we shall raise against them 7 shepherds and 8 principal men, and they shall lay waste the land of Assyria with a sword, and the land of Nimrod with the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian when he cometh to our land and treadeth on our borders. Okay, now this he is, I guarantee you, is not in the Hebrew text, because they're putting this man here, and they're saying no, they shall deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our lands. Okay, so let's look at this. And they shall lay waste the land of Assyria with the sword. Thus he, where is it? Where's the he in there? And there's nothing that refers to the he. It literally could just be like, they shall lay waste the land of Assyria and the land of Nimrod and the ancestors thereof, and deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our land and treadeth within our borders. So these are in Zechariah 12, or I think it's 11 or 12. They're known as the governors of Jerusalem and Judea. Why? Because this is a one world government that is coming against these 3 kings, basically over the Middle East. Okay. And this one world government is forming right under our nose right now. Okay, who the 10 kings are is still up in the air, but I promise you, there's some big players rising on the world stage right now, and World War III is breaking out. Okay, so then he says, "It shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord." So this is the Lord speaking very clearly now, that I will cut off thy horses in the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots, and I will cut off thy cities out of thy land, and throw down thy strongholds. Okay, who is he talking to? He's talking to the remnant of Jacob. He's talking to ethnic Israel. Okay, so God is going to humble Israel before he saves them. He's not going to look. He's not going to. They're not going to raise up 7 shepherds who are going to beat their enemies, and then God's going to be like, okay, now you can take all the glory to yourself, and I'll come here and be your king like you wanted. No, he humbles them before he saves them. Okay, so this is Micah 5. Okay. Now you need to know about this 8th, who's one of the 7, because we're going to take you forward now all the way to the book of Revelation, in Revelation chapter 17. Okay. And he's talking about Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Who is Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots and the abomination of the earth? This is the spouse of the beast. Okay. Now remember, she is the beast's wife. If you will, if he's Ahab, she's Jezebel, okay? But this is actually the beast and his spouse. Now, his spouse is going to be, I believe, Sophia the robot. I believe that's who his spouse is going to be, an AI, okay? And I believe that's his unknown God who's helping him. It's an AI, okay? So what it says is, it says, I saw a woman drunken with the blood of the saints, with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Is this AI going to be involved in killing Christians? I believe so, yeah. So anyways, it says, okay, when he's talking about the number of the beast, he says, here is wisdom, okay? Now he uses the same thing here. He says, here is the mind that has wisdom. Here is the mind which has Sophia, okay? Sophia the robot. I believe it's Sophia the robot. I could be wrong, but I think it is, okay? Now it says, here's a mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Now the woman is going to be the false religion that abides atop the various 7 Roman empires. And Chris White just put out his video on the Antichrist series. This is where I'm in full agreement with him. The 7 empires, okay, are the 7 empires that were the dominant world empire that also ruled over Israel in its history, okay? And you're going to find what's the first one is going to be? Egypt. The second one is going to be Assyria. The third one's going to be Babylon. The fourth one's going to be Persia. The 5th one's going to be Greece. The 6th one is going to be Rome. And then you have a 7th, okay? And the 7th is going to be the final beast empire, okay? So you have the 7 kings. It says, remember, this is in John's day, okay? 5 are fallen, okay? So 5 are fallen. When's John writing? In the days of the Roman Empire. So here your 5 fallen ones are going to be Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, and Greece. 5 are fallen. 1 is. He's writing the days of the Roman Empire. It's still there. And 1 has not yet come. Okay? And notice it says, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Now remember, if you guys know my theology, there's no distinction between a king and his kingdom. You don't have a kingdom without a king. Okay? So when you see these kings and these mountains, okay, remember, notice it says, The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. So those represent the 7 kingdoms, okay? And there are 7 kings, okay? So each one of these kingdoms is going to have an ultimate king, okay? And that ultimate king is going to essentially try to oppose God directly, okay? So in Egypt you have the Pharaoh, right, who tried to stop Moses, right? In Assyria you have Sennacherib, I think it was, who tried to destroy Israel, okay? Now all these kings get dusted by God, okay? In Persia, I think you have I want to say it's like Artaxerxes. It's one of them. One of them makes the people pray to him instead of God. He signs off on that, and Daniel gets put in line to him for that, and that's how you don't do that. But I think it's actually Artaxerxes that's the one that. Or, no, I'm sorry, it's the second Darius. It's the second Darius that falls to Alexander the Great. But I don't know which one is going to be the one that opposes God. I think it's the one who demanded them to pray to him. Okay. And then, of course, Alexander claiming to be a god. He drops dead at the height of his career. Or it could be Antiochus, who sets in the temple, who sets up the image of Zeus in the temple. Could be that one that's fallen. And then, of course, Rome. You're going to have Nero, who persecutes the church, and he dies of, I think, of a suicide. And then the ultimate one is going to be the beast. It's going to be Antichrist. Okay, so they all oppose God. They're all Antichrists in a kind of way, and they try to make themselves God. Okay, so then it says, and the other is not yet come. So that is the Antichrist, and it says, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Why? Because the Antichrist is only going to spend 3.5 years rising to power, and then 3.5 years fallen. That's a short space. Okay, and the beast that was not and is not, even he is the 8th. And is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Now, in Daniel, you're going to hear this prophesied about a little horn that arises among the 10 kings that's diverse from them. Why? Because the little horn, I believe, is the image of the beast. It's the AI, transcendent, transhuman, merging with one of the 7. Okay? Because remember, the 8th is one of the 7. He's one of the 7, but somehow he becomes an 8th. Well, how does he become an 8th? And this is a mystery here. And I'm going to show you how there's 2 things that seem to contradict each other that make this only workable if this guy is both the Antichrist and the image of the beast, both alive at the same time. Okay? This is a mystery, but I'm going to show you how this mystery works out. Okay? So we're going to go into 2 Thessalonians, because this is very clear that Paul says this guy's going to die at the midpoint, okay? So in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, he says, let no one deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. That's the day of the Lord. That's the day of our gathering to him. So that's the day of the rapture, except there come a falling away up first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Okay. Now, I used to think this, and your pre-tribbers are going to say that is that he's revealed, and the church knows who he is, but that's before he sits in the temple and claims to be God. That is false. This is how he is revealed. He is revealed when he sits in the temple and claims that he's God. Remember, there are going to be 7 kings competing for who's going to be the Antichrist, who's going to rule this one world order, okay? Which one is it? You're not really going to know that clearly. Now, if you know your prophecies, you're going to know that he can only come from Turkey, Greece, or Macedon. Of existing countries that are on the planet today, he can only come from Turkey, Greece, and Macedonia, okay? So, but what if all these countries have rulers that are prominent in the last days? I mean, Greece has a new ruler that's kind of allied with Russia a bit, and obviously Greece and Turkey have always been opposed to each other. Maybe he's a Greek. I'm personally believing that he's a Turk, but we'll see. So it says, remember ye not that I was with you? I told you these things, and you know what withholdeth him that he may be revealed within this time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, and he that letteth will not let until he's taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed. Now, if you know this, he who withholdeth, okay, that's the restrainer, and that's Michael, who he's right in Daniel. It says, who holds with me in these things. This is Gabriel talking to Daniel, and he says, there's one who holds with me in these things, and that's Michael, your prince. Okay, Michael is the angelic principality over Israel, and he is basically basically he's standing against the satanic princes in seeing that God's will gets accomplished on earth. And so Michael and Gabriel are pretty much it. in terms of, they obviously have angels underneath their authority, but in terms of the princes, remember, Michael and his angels fought against Satan and his angels. So they have armies of angels at their disposal, but in terms of princes, they're the only ones, okay? And so, that's the prince that basically is restraining, basically this total takeover of Israel. And then it says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work until he who lets it is taken out of the way. And this is going to happen in Daniel 12 when Michael arises to cast Satan down to the earth. He's out of the way, okay? Then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. And this is also a mystery. What's going on here? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain it all to you. In Daniel 11, you're going to have the Antichrist finish defeating Egypt, and he's about to go after Libya and Sudan until the news from the northeast that the kings of the east are gathering against him comes to his ears. And so he goes back up. He sets up his camp between Jerusalem and the sea, which is going to be the Gaza plain. And then from there, he's going to go into the west and sit in the temple and claim that he's God. Okay, the kings of the east, basically the Euphrates River is eventually going to dry up, and they're going to set up in the valley of Megiddo, and then they're going to fight over Jerusalem. Okay, they're going to fight right in the city of Jerusalem. They're going to fight over the city. That is the prize. That's the mountain. Okay, that's why there's 7 mountains on which the king sits, because the mountain of Jerusalem is God's holy mountain. That is the prize in every case. Okay. And so what happens? It says, then will the wicked be revealed. Well, when is he revealed? He's revealed when he sits in the temple and claims that he's God. So there's the midpoint. And then it says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. That's Perusia, or his appearing, okay? Well, what happens there? Okay? Well, remember, in Luke 17 and Matthew 24, it says Christ appears like a flash of lightning, okay? He also says he saw Satan fall like a bolt of lightning. Michael is also arising to cast Satan out of heaven. So all these things are simultaneously. When the Antichrist sits in the temple and says he's God, there's a prophecy in Daniel that says he must be broken without hand. Okay, so he receives his mortal head wound, but it's not by the hand of man. And of course, if you know your idol shepherd, okay, look up the term idol shepherd. This is going to be in Zechariah. It says, woe to the idol shepherd. Who is the idol shepherd? Now, this is I-D-O-L. It's not idol like he's not trying. It's idol like he's an actual idol, okay? That leaveth the flock. And if you know what's going on, he talks about how he's going to be struck and the sheep will scatter. And this has a dual fulfillment. Once for Christ. Remember, Christ is going to be arrested and all the sheep are going to scatter him. And once for Antichrist, he's going to be struck down with a bolt of lightning and the Jews are going to scatter from him, the believing Jews, okay? And then it says, the sword will be upon his arm and upon his right eye. His arm will be utterly clean dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. So what happens? He stands in the temple and claims that he's God. Then, when he does that, Christ appears in the sky with this flash of lightning. And imagine, like this nuclear flash, okay? Imagine how big this thing's going to be when Christ appears, okay? And so what's the Antichrist going to naturally do? Instinctually, he's going to go like this, because this flash is appearing, as he's sitting in the temple and claiming he's God, okay? That flash is going to shoot a bolt of lightning that's going to burn his right hand and burn through his eye and kill him. That's what's going to happen. And that's at the same time Satan is falling. It's the very bolt of lightning that Satan is being thrown down as, okay? Think about it like this. Satan is literally being thrown at the Antichrist. The actual demon, Lucifer, is being thrown at the Antichrist at Christ's appearing, at his word. And he appears as a flash of lightning, and Satan is thrown at him at the same time. That's Michael throwing him down, okay? This is going to be super BA, okay? So the Antichrist, his right side of his face is burnt to a crisp. His right hand is burnt to a crisp. It's withered up, right? It's toast, okay? But we have another problem here. He's destroyed at this point. It says he's destroyed with the brightness of the Lord's appearing. Okay, so how can he be? And this is what Anthony brought to my attention, which is this is the other problem you have to solve. Because in Revelation 19, when Christ comes at the end of Daniel's 70th week and fights the battle of Armageddon, right before that it says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image, these were both cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone. How is he cast alive into the lake of fire? Now, before I step into that, I want to give you guys a foretype of this, okay? Can you think of any other Bible stories where somebody is cast alive into hell? Well, he's cast alive into Gehenna, the lake of fire, but there is a guy who's cast alive into Sheol, and that is going to be Korah's rebellion. If you know the book of Numbers, you're going to have Korah and Dathan, which are a type of the Antichrist and false prophet, and Korah is basically competing with Aaron for the high priesthood. Dathan is competing with Judah for the headship of Israel. So these two, Dathan is actually from the tribe of Reuben, which is the eldest, and Korah is from the elder sons of Aaron. Okay, so they're basically arguing that they should be in charge of Israel and not Moses and Aaron. Okay, now Moses knows that the royal line belongs to Judah, and that the priestly line belongs to Aaron. Okay, he knows this, and so he basically challenges them. He says, if he's basically like, if you guys don't get thrown alive and they're swallowed up by the earth and taken alive into Sheol, you can be in charge. That's his challenge. This is his Elijah moment with the high priest. And basically the earth, like literally everybody who knows better from his family, because the children of Korah actually become singers in David's temple, okay? But everybody who knows better like just scatters from these guys' camps, and literally their camps are just swallowed alive into the earth. Okay, this is a foretype of the Antichrist. Remember, the sheep are going to scatter from him. Okay, when he sits in the temple and claims that he's God, any Jew that knows better runs. Okay, Christ is going to appear, and first thing he's going to do is he's going to resurrect and rapture the two witnesses after he appears. Okay, why? Because this 3-day celebration when the two witnesses are lying dead in the street is basically going to be the Antichrist moment. He kills them. And this is the quote-unquote proof that he's the Messiah. He's going to claim to have killed the Antichrist and false prophet. Okay? Remember, the Antichrist is carrying out a pseudo-apocalypse up until that point. So in the 3.5 years before that, he's conquering Assyria, he's conquering Egypt, and then he goes and kills the two witnesses, and he's going to claim that they're the Antichrist and false prophet. Okay? And then when he kills them, the final thing he goes and does, and he goes and sits in the temple, which is what Jesus does in Ezekiel 43. And that's how he shows himself as being God. Okay, it doesn't say he says that he's God. He says he's going to blaspheme the God of heaven, and he's going to sit in the temple, showing himself that he is God. Okay, so he's going to sit in the temple. Once he sits in the temple, he goes and sits in the Holy of Holies. He's going to tick off Jesus for sitting on his chair. You sat on my chair. Get off of my chair. I called seat check. Okay, Jesus is then, when he comes out of the temple to receive his worship and all this stuff, Jesus is going to appear like a flash of lightning and destroy him. He's toast. So what happens? How is he alive to be cast alive into the lake of fire at the end? And the answer is this. This is the mystery of Revelation 13, the mystery of the beast, okay? So the beast, he's described in Revelation 13. The first half of Revelation 13, it says he opened his mouth to blaspheme against God, to blaspheme his name in the tabernacle, okay? Now look at this. He opened his mouth to blaspheme, okay? Notice it says this, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things. Now, if this is a man, why does he need to be given a mouth? Okay, now the little horn in Daniel, you're going to read the same thing in Daniel. It says he has eyes like the eyes of a man. Here it says he's given a mouth speaking great things. How does he have eyes like the eyes of a man? Doesn't make sense. How does he have eyes like the eyes of a man? Why is he given a mouth if he's a man? Okay, isn't he born with these things? And the answer is just because it's not a man, it's a robot. It's a robot. And so he is given eyes, and he's literally able to see the internet, and he's tied into all the sensors and everything. This is transcendence, okay? And you guys need to watch this movie and carefully discern it in the spirit, okay? There's this movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp. And if you guys know your Hollywood, occultic symbology. I mean, what do these people play? This is simple, okay? This is Paul Bettany. Who does he play in Marvel Comics? He's Vision. This is Vision. Vision is the image of the beast. Okay, Vision is the image of the beast in Marvel Comics, and that's why he dies of a mortal head wound. And Tony Stark is the beast. Tony Stark is the Antichrist. Okay, and Marvel Comics openly admits that Tony Stark is the Antichrist. Okay, who does Morgan Freeman always play in his movies? He always plays God. Who does Rebecca Hall play? She always plays a mad scientist. She's in Godzilla, which is super, super Antichrist. If you know the Godzilla movies that are coming out, I mean, they literally have a cross in the background while Hydra, who's the three-headed beast, the three that are one, okay, that's who Godzilla has to defeat. And Godzilla recruits Kong on his side, and then they get a revived, this is really weird, they get a revived Hydra brain in the Mecha Godzilla, okay? So Hydra is meant to be the Trinity. Godzilla is Lucifer, he's the dragon, and Kong is the beast, okay? So if you watch these movies, okay, and she's in that too, she always plays some kind of scientist lady, okay? She's in Iron Man 2 as well, where she actually invents the, what is that thing that makes the people turn to lava? I forget what it is. Paul Bettany obviously is in the Marvel Comics too. Morgan Freeman is always playing God. He's always playing God, okay? This guy, he's on Batman. He's the Scarecrow on Batman. And of course, Johnny Depp in this movie is going to be the Beast. He's the Antichrist, okay? So if you look at like the images of this is like the Beast, the harlot, God, okay? Of course, he's a false God, so it's like Satan, the Beast, and the harlot, okay? And you always have in your pagan mythology, remember you have Isis, Horus, and Zeus kind of thing, right? You always have one female, two male, one female, two male, okay? Why? Because it's literally Satan, the Beast, and harlot, okay? This guy usually speaks through the false prophet. This is the Beast, who the false prophet points everyone to, and this is the harlot, who's the consort. Now, what does she say? She says, I am no widow. So what happens to her? She's married to Johnny Depp. And Johnny Depp, basically, he gets shot by these anti-machine, anti-robotics people. Okay? And Johnny Depp, literally in the beginning of the movie, and Elon Musk is, pay attention to you guys, Elon Musk is in the movie, in the crowd, going like this. He does a cameo in the movie, Elon frickin' Musk, you guys, because this is real life. This is not, listen, this is not a movie for your entertainment. This is propaganda for your soul, okay? Listen, the false, there's always a false dichotomy, okay? Logic versus Rhetoric series, I swear I'm going to write a book on this. There's always going to be a false dichotomy. Satan always gives you two bad ideas and has you fight over which one's better. You have Mark Zuckerberg in the metaverse trying to get you to give AI control of your life. You have Elon Musk and his transhuman agenda, and he's trying to get you to merge with the AI, okay? Why? Because they're both working for the Antichrist. And they're going to act like the other one's the bad guy, when the reality is they're both the bad guy. Satan always is. It's Democrats and Republicans, Calvinists and Arminians. It's always the same thing. Pre-wrath versus pre-trib. It's always going to be the same thing, right? There's two bad ideas, and you got to fight over which one's better, okay? So what happens in this? While he's in the audience, while Tom Cruise is basically giving a speech about this, and he's basically talking about how we're going to evolve into machines, Elon Musk is sitting there in the audience. After this, he gets shot by a radioactive lace bullet. He's going to die from this. And so before he dies, they wire him up and try to basically absorb his brain onto the internet. And they succeed. And he basically becomes this transcendent beast thing, okay? And so what happens is his physical body is dead, but then he's merged with the internet at this point, okay? And this is exactly how it's going to be with the Antichrist. You're going to have his physical body on probably life support, probably artificially sustained. So he's going to be intravenously fed. He's going to have his heart artificially pumping, but his brain activity is going to be wired to the image of the beast. So when the image speaks, and you're supposed to worship the image of the beast, what they're going to be selling to mankind and humanity is that we have discovered eternal life. Watch the show Upload that's coming out on Amazon. Watch this movie Transcendence, and what are they going to say? You don't need Jesus to have eternal life. We have accomplished eternal life. We can transmute this guy into technological data, and we have hooked his brain up to the image of the beast, and now the image of the beast is speaking. powered by his brain. This is what Elon Musk is working on right now with Neuralink, okay? Now remember, 2014, okay, 8 years ago, Elon Musk was in this movie. Why is he in this movie? Because it's propaganda for what he's doing. You have to understand, Elon Musk is plugged in. Elon Musk is like Trump. He seems like he's fighting against the man. He's not fighting against the man. He's working for the man, okay? I mean, if you had to pick two people alive on Earth right now who seem like they could be the Antichrist and false prophet, they would be Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I mean, based on the things that they're doing, based how they're sucking in Jews and Christians and Muslims and gays and straights and putting them all together into one camp that's all shouting freedom, right? They promise you liberty while they themselves are slaves to depravity, okay? Elon Musk is a miserable man who's made a bunch of babies, okay? And he's had multiple divorces. He's a mess. But he's going to tell you how to live. No, forget that guy. But he's got a ton of money. Where's it all coming from? The military-industrial complex, the Boring Company, everything he's doing, his satellites, his rocket ships, Neuralink, Tesla. He's building the technology for the underground civilization. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, you guys. I'm going to tell you this. This is not a prophecy. This is a prediction. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. When World War III happens and the whole earth shakes and the kings of the earth go underground, guess who's going to go underground with them? The Trumps and the Musks. They're all going underground. He's not building the Boring Company and all the electrical vehicles and all this crap for you. He's building it for the underground civilization, and he's using you stupid stock investors to pay for his research funding. And you stupid stock investors are going to lose everything because it's all going to crash down and all of it's going to disappear because guess why? He was never building it for you. He's building it for the people that are going to hide in the rocks of the earth from the wrath of the Lamb. That's where they're going. They're going underground. That's why there's a book that was written in the 1800s about Baron Trump underground time traveling. Go look this up on the internet. He's named Baron Trump, and I think his dad's named Don or something like. There's a guy named Don Trump or something like that, and then the kid's name's Baron. He's time traveling and living underground. This was written in the 1800s, you guys. These people, listen. This occult stuff goes way back. These are mystery cults that go all the way back to Mystery Babylon, okay? And Elon Musk family. These are families and generations of people that are in the occult, okay? H.G. Wells, whose movie, you can watch the movie on Netflix. It's called The Shape of Things to Come, okay? They end up underground and they end up shooting rockets to the moon and all this stuff and extending human life and all this stuff. He wrote this in the 1800s, you guys. The 1800s. All the Luciferian stuff, the New Age came out in the 1800s. All this stuff. Most of your false Christian denominations came out in the 1800s. Your weird culty Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists and your Pentecostals. Holy crap, Pentecostals are just New Age Christians. No, we believe in the gifts. No, you don't. You believe in pseudo gifts. You believe in pseudo gifts, faking gifts, buying gifts, selling gifts, pseudo false doctrine, left and right. Pentecostals and charismatics, left and right false doctrine. Okay, I believe in the spiritual gifts. I just believe there's counterfeits to everything, and the charismatics eat it up. Okay, they'll just lie. They're liars. Okay, I've known thousands of them. They're just deceiving and being deceived. Okay, but here's this image of the beast here. This guy is going to be two people at once. He's going to be in the human body that they're propping up with life support, and he's also going to be in the image of the beast. His mind is going to be in the image of the beast, and that fulfills a specific prophecy. And remember, he's alive, and yet he's dead. He's destroyed, and yet he's still alive. Well, this is what it said. I'm going to show you two prophecies that fulfill, okay? So it says, there was given him a mouth speaking great things, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. Why is power given to him to continue? Because he's dead. But by human power, by technology, he's allowed to continue ruling the world for 3.5 years after this, okay? And it says, and he opened his mouth. Remember, he's given a mouth. So this is the image of the beast. In blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name. What's his name? Jesus. So he blasphemes Jesus. His tabernacle. What's his tabernacle? The New Jerusalem. And them that dwell in heaven. Who are them that dwell in heaven? That is us. We're raptured. Okay, remember Revelation 11, the seventh trumpet is blown. Revelation 12 is a foretype of the rapture. Revelation 13 is the image of the beast, and Revelation 14 is going to be the harvest, the rapture clearly described. Okay, so what do you have here? Them that dwell in heaven. Okay, the word blasphemy simply means slander against God. Okay, so the word blasphemy and the word slander are the same name. Okay. So listen, and again, you guys, this is all in my book. If you haven't bought a copy of my book, read it, because I don't mind explaining all this stuff, but it's all in my book. It's 275 pages. It's got all the scriptural documentation. Get my book, and please buy a copy for someone else. It's not that expensive. You guys, I spent a lot of years working on this, and please just get that out there, okay? So it says, listen to this. There was given him a mouth speaking blasphemies, okay? Vilification, blasphemy, evil speaking, railing, okay? Blasphemia, okay? Evil speaking, blasphemy, railing, okay? Vilification, blasphemo, okay? To speak impiously, defame, rail on, revile, speak evil, okay? So what is he speaking evil about God? What is he doing? He's claiming that basically God is an alien, that the saints are basically people who've got invasion of the body snatchers, that they're not really believing in Jesus, they're not really there of their own free will, that they've been brainwashed, and that they're going to come back and kill us. Now think of the movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise, okay? In Oblivion, there's this thing called the Tet, that it's a triangle pyramid-shaped New Jerusalem, okay? The Tet is short for Tetragrammaton, that's the name of God, okay? The Tet is where basically a bunch of clones of Tom Cruise and his fellow lady astronaut are sent back. They go up, and then they're taken in this thing, and then they're cloned, and then they're sent back to attack humans. What are the raptured saints going to do? They're going to come back with Christ, and they're going to rule and reign over the earth. Okay, the quote unquote good guys in Oblivion are led by who? None other than Morgan Freeman, because he's always saying he's your false god, right? They're led by Morgan Freeman, and they're hiding in caves and rocks and caves underground, and they're fighting back. Okay, and of course, like every other thing, they got to destroy the Tet, which is the New Jerusalem, which you can do with one nuke because it's the Death Star. Okay, Star Wars is occultic too. All these sci-fi movies are all based in the occult. Okay, they just replace the remember, pseudoscience, so-called science, and science fiction. Science fiction is another way of saying pseudoscience or so-called science. And Jesus says, don't be deceived by science, so-called. Fiction means false, means not true. Okay, nonfiction is true, fiction is false. So it's false science, okay? Pseudoscience. And what is it called? It's pseudoscience. What is witchcraft? It's pseudoscience. What is superstition? It's pseudoscience, okay? It's false knowledge that is, you're meant to rule over you superstitiously, so you hold yourself in bondage to things that are not based on the truth, they're not based in reality, they're elementary principles of the world. They came from people who were not scientific because they're not based in God. Listen, all your good science, all your true science in the world at a minimum came from people who at least believed in God. At least believed in God. Maybe not in Jesus, maybe not in Christianity, but they at least believe in God. And because you believe in God, you have a logical consistency about you because you're discovering what God made. You're not just discovering how to do stuff with random stuff that just got there on accident. You know that the stuff was logically made with a single mind who had a plan for it. And we can use it, okay? If you don't, you believe in pseudoscience. Oh, guess what? If you don't do this funny dance, you're going to be under this curse. If you don't throw salt over your shoulder, you're going to have bad luck. Stupid crap like that, okay? Yoga. Yoga is pseudoscience. Acupuncture is pseudoscience. I don't care what anyone says. I have met multiple professing Christian women who are getting into crystals, essential oils, okay? How do you know this helps with this? How do you know? Show me the science. Show me the logical, provable, physical, chemical science that says this essential oil helps you with depression or whatever, okay? I'm not saying an oil can't do stuff to you scientifically. I'm just saying if you can't show me the science, you're operating on pseudoscience. You're operating on, that's why they call them old wives' tales. Who gets involved with this stuff? Wives, women. Why? Because Satan always goes for the woman first. This is why we don't have them usurping the authority of the man in the church. They're going to have you doing essential oils and yoga in the church, which they do. Okay, yoga, crystals, essential oils, acupuncture, you name it. Okay, tarot cards, astrology. Do you get a dating profile? You know how many women are into astrology now? Astrology, yoga, essential oils. Yoga is just witches in hot pants. Okay, that's all it is witches in hot pants. Okay, they're just good looking witches. That's all they are. Your yogas. Okay, now listen. Where I got off track there. Let's get back on track. So we see this, and it says, I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spake as the dragon. Now, this is the false prophet. Okay, he comes out of the earth, the other one comes out of the sea. Why? Because he's a Gentile. Remember, the Danites were kicked out of Israel, so that makes them Gentile now. And then this one comes from Israel. I'm guessing this is Jared Kushner. It's not Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is South African. It could be Mark Zuckerberg, because he's a Jew. Could be Mark Zuckerberg or Jared Kushner. Those are my leading candidates for the false prophet. But since Jared Kushner seems to be doing the peace treaty throughout the earth, it seems like him. Now, here's a secret most of you don't know. Jared Kushner and Mark Zuckerberg went to Harvard 1 year apart, and they're both Jews. Mark Zuckerberg, remember, watch the movie The Social Network. Mark Zuckerberg is in these Jewish clubs, okay? Okay, you think Jared Kushner wasn't in those clubs too? At Harvard? How many Jews do you think there are at Harvard? Okay, they have all Jewish clubs. Okay? These guys knew each other. I'm telling you, the two of them knew each other, okay? Jared Kushner turns out to be he's a political leader. He's not a military guy. The Antichrist will be a military guy. My guess is that, this is my speculation, would be that he's some military general who's leading Turkey's armies. That's my guess. I don't think it's Erdogan. I think it's probably some general or something like that that is leading. Because think about it like this. Military generals, historically, especially in World War scenarios, become presidents afterwards. Okay? Dwight D. Eisenhower became president. Who was he? He was a World War II general, right? Winston Churchill was actually an admiral. Most people don't know that in World War I. Okay, these guys, because what they do is, here's what military generals have to do in war scenarios. They not only have to defeat the enemies and blow their stuff up, they've set up governments to administer everything they've conquered. So they literally rule over military governments. They did this in Japan, they did it in Germany, and these guys are ruling over nations already. Okay, so they become very good candidates for leading government administrations and militaries, which is what the commander-in-chief does. The president is the head of the military and the administration. Okay. So you have probably some guy. Now, again, Erdogan's not going to head this army. He's too old. He's an old guy. He's in his 70s. He's not a stern-faced man. He's rich. He's powerful. But there's probably going to be some general of his that heads the armies, and he's going to be like an Eisenhower or like a Patton or somebody who's like super charismatic, and he's kicking butt and he's taking names, and then he's a Danite. That's my guess on who he is. Okay. So he gets here and he dies. And they make him alive in the image of the beast. And he says he exercises all the power of the first beast before him and causes the earth and them that dwell to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Now, what is the deadly wound? He's struck by lightning. Boom, boom, toast. Okay? Deceiveth those that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had a sword and did live. Okay? So people are going to wonder how long this takes to happen. They're going to be all set up and ready to go. They're already going to have all the technology in place, okay, to do this. And he had power to give life into the image of the beast, that the image of the beast would both speak and cause as many who would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Now, maybe the beast is going to be alive in the metaverse. Could be. And this, again, your Cloud9 Productions have come up with all these theories, and they put them on the internet, or they put them on movies already, okay? You have to put on the VR headset, and that's where you see the beast. It could be. Maybe maybe the image of the beast is literally the metaverse. And you put on the VR headset, and he's still alive in there, and you're still listening to him in there. Okay? It very well could be. Okay? But it looks like it's an actual item in the temple. It's a statue, okay? And it says that they need to worship the image of the beast. They need to take his mark, right? And it says, and this is the guy who says, now look, listen, this is an alternative translation, and somebody is welcome to challenge me on this or send somebody to challenge me who knows the Greek better than me. But it says, here is Sophia having a mind to compute the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number 666. Okay? It is the number of a man, his number is 666. Okay? So this is what I think. I think Sophia knows which guy it is. Now, it does just so happen of all the prominent leaders on the earth, there is only one guy whose name adds up to 666, and that is, let's get our gematria calculator out. And it's only in English gematria, so I don't know if this is going to work, but you can get a gematria calculator. And you can type in the actual name of the president of Turkey, which is Recep Erdogan, and in English gematria, it adds up to 666. Now, it just does so happen, remember, Greek was the dominant language in that day. Could God foresee that English is the dominant language of our day, of the modern era? Very well could. Doesn't say it has to be in Greek or Hebrew. Remember, that book wasn't even written in Hebrew. Okay, it was written in Greek. Okay, and Greek was the dominant language at that time. Okay, it doesn't say anything about this guy's name being based in Greek gematria, Hebrew gematria, Roman gematria. They all have gematria, okay, where names equal numbers. Well, it just so happens Recep Erdogan, that's his name, Tayyip Recep Erdogan, but Recep Erdogan is how you would say just normal first and last name, happens to add up to 666. In simple gematria, it adds up to 111. In Jewish gematria, it adds up to 340. I don't know if that's significant. But you have, ancient God Ra, God's empire. I mean, if you just go to English, and again, I don't think it's going to be Jewish, but I mean, you have all these things. So does the word computer, okay? If you take the word computer. The word computer in English gematria adds up to 666. And so does Recep Erdogan. Just a coincidence. I'm not going to say that's anything. But what I think is, what I think this passage is telling you, is not telling you. I think he's saying, listen, that no one buys mark that has the number of the name. And then it says here, in this same spot is Sophia having a mind to compute the number of the beast. So Hode means in this same spot, here or hither or in this place, okay? Well, why do I think that's referring to Sophia the robot? Because the harlot is saying, I am no widow. Why is she saying I am no widow? Because her husband is merged with technology and is still alive, though he was dead. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I'm not saying this dogmatically. I'm not saying this is an issue that, whether or not you're in and out. I'm just saying I'm using my best guesstimation of what these prophecies mean in real time. And I think you're going to have Sophia as the mother harlot. She's already been on the UN floor. Okay, look at this. Not only has she been on the UN floor, she's been on the UN floor dressed in scarlet, you guys. I mean, that color she's wearing, you have to understand. It's a wine red, okay? A wine red, okay? It's the color of royalty, but it's more of a wine red than a bright red, okay? And so here's Sophia on the UN floor, and what do? They dress her, look at, this is a robot, and they put her in a wine red dress. And basically she gives a speech where she says the world needs to give control of its resources to her in what she called God-o-mation. And she would distribute the world's resources equally, okay? This robot has already been made a citizen in Saudi Arabia. Most people don't know that. Sophia the robot has been made a citizen in Saudi Arabia, okay? Not only that, dolls are being distributed to little girls, and they're all supposed to be hooked up. Look up AI dolls and AI toys. They're getting popular. The next generation of kids they're not going to have pet dogs and cats. They're going to be raised by AI who are telling them what to think from childhood. You think it's bad when your parents are giving kids phones and tablets now. Your parents set your kids down in front of TV and let the TV raise the kids while they screw around with their phones, okay? These robots will raise your kids. You're going to be brainwashing them from childhood. You're going to be taught to interact with them, okay? And this one, this evil-looking, creepy robot is going to be attached to this other robot who is a citizen of Saudi Arabia, who is building Neon right now, okay? Isn't that an excuse? Look, she's on Jimmy Kimmel. Will Smith has kissed her, and of course, Will Smith is the simp of all simps. He's married to a witch. I mean, watch. Sophia the robot. Look at this. The simp of all simps, Mr. Keep My Wife's Name Out of Your effing mouth, is kissing. Look at, here's me with a robot. Here's me getting ready to kiss the robot. Why? How many occultic films is this dude in? He writes the film 7 Pounds, which is all about killing yourself to atone for your sins. Okay, 7 Pounds. Okay, I mean Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith is on the Matrix, which is an occultic film. Right? These are occultists. These are high-level occultists. He's a Scientologist, which is a satanic cult, which was made on the anniversary of I think it was the birthday or the death of Aleister Crowley by the science fiction author L. Ron Hubbard. Okay, he's a high-level Scientologist, just like Tom Cruise. Okay, these are occultists. Okay, and these guys, this is the New Age religion. These guys are trying to prime you and slowly coax you towards the worship of the beast and the harlot and the false prophet who speaks for Satan. Okay, why? Because it's literally the old Egyptian Babylonian pagan, right? You have Isis, Tammuz is the child, and then you have Isis, Osiris, and Horus. Okay, you have Isis, Horus, and Seb, and of course, what is the child? The child is basically the re-put together. Humpty Dumpty put them back together again, because why is this? Well, there's an ancient Jewish legend that when Nimrod was finally defeated, Shem, who was still alive, had Nimrod cut into a bunch of pieces and sent to all the cities where he was worshipped, so they could show him that he was just God and not a man. And there was, for modesty reasons, there was a piece of him that they did not send. Well, in the Egyptian version, this turns into the legend of the death of Osiris, and Osiris was cut into all these pieces by Set, who is the bad god. And Set cuts up all his pieces, but he hides the phallus. Okay, and so that's why you have these poles. They would be called astropoles in Babylonian and Canaanite paganism, and in Egyptian they're called obelisks. And an obelisk is literally a penis, and they're everywhere in the world. They're penises. If you know the tradition of the obelisk and the Egyptian mythology of Osiris, they're penises. These people worship sexual icons and stuff like that. Okay, they worship dildos. Yes, they worship penises and vaginas. That's what these occultists are doing. Okay, what's an ancient Egyptian obelisk doing in Central Park? Joe Rogan's asking some of the wrong questions. What he wants to ask is why are we worshiping penises all over the world? Because Egypt is a type of the world in the Bible. It's always a type of the world. Okay, and it's God is the God of death. And again, the Antichrist is the type of Pharaoh. Okay, and they are going to worship the Antichrist at the end. Okay, and that's how he's going to be allowed to continue. Okay, they're going to reinvigorate him in the image of the beast, and then he's allowed to continue. And so this is going to fulfill this prophecy in Ezekiel 43. So in Ezekiel 43, this is the prophecy when the Lord goes and sits in the temple and claims he's God. Afterwards he brought me to the gate, even to the gate that looketh towards the east, and behold, the glory of the Lord of Israel came from the way of the east. Okay, and it says, and the glory of the Lord came into the house by the way of the gates whose prospect is towards the east. Notice how they keep saying east, because the Antichrist is going to come from the west. Okay, and then it talks about them, and he says, and he said to me, Son of man, the place of my throne, the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever, and my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither by their kings, plural, by their whoredom, there's Sophia the robot, nor by the carcasses of their kings in high places. Okay, so their kings is going to be, there's going to be two. That's why there's kings. Okay, it's going to be Antichrist and the image of the beast. That's 2 kings. Okay, that's who rules over Israel. Remember, one of them is the idol, IDOL, shepherd. Okay, so they actually set up an idol to worship over them. Okay, and the Jews have done this before. In fact, you want to talk about the false prophet calling fire down from heaven? Oh, the Jews won't go for that. Really? Jews won't go for the Antichrist calling fire down from heaven on the people who won't worship him? What did Christ's own apostles say? Do you want us to call fire down from heaven to destroy them? And what did Jesus say back to them? You do not know what spirit you are of. Okay, that's coming in the wrong spirit. All right. When Jesus says to you, you do not know what spirit you are of. Holy crap, you just called out some false prophet calling down fire to destroy your enemies thing. Why? Because Elijah did that. And that's what your Jews want to do. And Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. Bet these carnal Jews are going to love it when the false prophet does that. They're like, Elijah, he is Elijah. That was so BA. We love it. Yay, go Jew. Right? He says, by their kings, that's the Antichrist and the image of the beast, by their whoredom, that's the mystery Babylon worship of the beast, and by the carcasses of their kings in their high places. That is going to be the dead body of the Antichrist and the image of the beast. They're both carcasses. Why? Because they're both not alive in the traditional sense, and yet somehow are in their high places. And that's why he captures them alive. And when he says he captures the beast alive, remember, the beast is both the human, the government, and the image of the beast. Okay? Remember, God made man in his image, right? And Christ is the image of God. Okay? Well, this is going to be the image of the beast. It's going to be both the man, and it's going to be the image of the beast, which is going to be the idol. And that could be, again, it could be a hologram, could be in the metaverse, could be an actual physical idol, or it could be all 3. I have a feeling it's going to be all 3. So we'll see. And then it says, in their setting of their threshold by my threshold. In other words, that's another door. And their post by my post, that's another type of the cross. And the wall between me and them. They have even defiled my holy name by their abominations. Remember, there's 2 abominations. There's the Antichrist sitting in the temple, and then there's the image of the beast being set up in the temple that they have committed. Wherefore I have consumed them in mine anger. Okay, this is the wrath of God. It's the second half of the tribulation. It's the outpouring of the bowls of wrath, and it says, notice this word, consume them. Okay, they will consume it to the bitter end. Okay, just look up this word, consume, or consummation. Consume, and you're going to go to Daniel. (7:26), but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it until the end. Okay, I will consume them in my wrath. That's the outpouring of the wrath. Okay, so the second one, you're going to look at consummation. That's another word for consuming. Daniel 9:27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation. In other words, the temple will be desolated for the last 3.5 years. That is determined shall be poured on the desolate. How do we know that the wrath is only the bowls? Because trumpets aren't poured. The bowls are poured. Poured out the fury of his wrath with all his indignation. It's just the bowls count as the wrath. Okay. You guys, I would love to educate your pre-wrath camp people about this because they don't know their Bible 1/10 of what they should to be putting out theories on eschatology. They don't. And I gotta let you know, I don't know it half as well as I should. But I'll be honest with you guys, and I call it arrogant if you want. Do you know any eschatology teachers out there that are citing as much scripture as I am to make their point? That are citing Joel, that are citing Ezekiel 43, that are citing the different parts of Daniel? They don't. They don't. They literally, I mean, look at your whole pre-wrath camp. They mostly just hang out between Revelation 6 and Matthew 24. They don't even look at Luke 17. 2 Thessalonians 2, a bit. They don't really work out the book of Revelations. None of these guys have written a complete commentary on the book of Revelations because they can't. They don't have the knowledge to do it. They don't know their Old Testament well enough. They don't know their New Testament well enough. I mean, how do you not know that Matthew 24 is an exposition and an expansion of Luke 17, which Christ gave like a week or so earlier? How do you not know that? You think any of these guys have taken the time to try to translate the Bible for themselves and gone word for word through it to try to understand it better? They don't. And I'm sorry, like, I don't have a PhD, no, but I know the Bible better than these guys. That's why I'm thinking about going to seminary, because I might have to get that PhD to get into the club where people will even listen to me. I'm praying on that. You know, I'm trying to decide if that's what God wants me to do. Okay. So anyways, I hope you guys are blessed by this. I hope you can like project this out there. You guys get this teaching out there. Please help if you can. And have a great rest of your week. Okay. Batman out. Peace.
Peace, I'm out. I'm Batman.